My name is Vanderlinde. I'm 75 years old. I race pigeons in Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Here in the Southern Hemisphere, our life rings are issued on the 1st of May. I'd like to show you how I breed the pigeons and manage the molt in the young pigeons.
It's early January, the middle of summer here in Brisbane. We don't start racing until winter, and we don't have a young or old bird series. We race mainly yearlings, starting at 150 kilometres in May and go out to 1100 kilometres by late spring. Life rings are available from the 1st of May, and I'm able to breed and have the first round of young over in the race loft by June. But of course that is the middle of our race season, and the last thing I want is youngsters in with my race team while I'm trying to prepare them for racing. However, I also want to breed my youngsters as early as possible each year so that I can get them through the molt as quick as possible and ready to start training by April each year. Therefore I make my stock birds in late winter, early August, and have the first round of young ready to come over in the race loft on the weekend of our last race that year. My stock loft is separate from the race loft, and I'm able to mate up 32 pair if needed, which means I can breed all the youngsters I need in just 2 rounds, and I'm finished breeding by November each year, which is the end of our springtime. I have some old finch cages that I've converted to house the early bred youngsters. This has the advantage of being able to house the youngsters away from the race loft, and it exposes the young to the old dry droppings in these pens, which helps the youngsters to develop their natural immunity, which is vitally important to me to reduce the use of medication. There's always a downside involving pigeons, and by breeding in late winter, the days are short and the youngsters don't start to molt their flight feathers, much like the darkness system used in the Northern Hemisphere, which of course is the opposite to what I'm trying to achieve. These are a few late bred young, which for one reason or another I've decided to breed. These early bred young look really great when they finally come over in the race loft. The small feathers have molted well, but they're holding onto their flight feathers and they're slow to start molting them. They're separated into hens and cocks, and they're kept separate all during the off or molting season. The second round of young soon join them, and now I can get the young settled, home to the loft and out flying well by December. I spend a lot of time teaching these youngsters the loft routine, but it's time well spent. The crates I have on the front of the loft allow the youngsters more sun and air, as well as a good look around outside their loft, and I like to get them out as quick as I can. I also use these crates to train the pigeons when racing starts, so they get used to entering them. They've been treated for internal and external parasites using Eprenex, but no other medication. I want them to develop their natural immunity without medication, particularly antibiotics. I want them coming out of that loft, going up high, having a good look around their surroundings, coming back and landing on the loft, and I lock them out for an hour or so, morning and evening. And boy, do these young like to fly at this time of the year. The sheer joy of being young has them packed up, flying high and flying out of sight in no time. It's a pleasure to sit and watch them. These young have a big advantage over later bred youngsters. They're developing their bodies with their willing exercise, learning their surroundings and adjusting to my loft routine. As well, they're learning the dangers, like peregrine falcons, which they have to contend with around the loft. They're allowed to pick around the yard at this time of the year, but not when racing starts. They're given a bath a couple of times a week as well. These youngsters are in fact ready to take their first toss before Christmas if I wanted to. However, they're still young birds and there's no point in going down that avenue. Watch out for that peregrine, you youngsters. Go for it, young fella, go for it, go for it. Look out, babies, look out, look out. Well done, well done. There she goes.
Come on then. Come on then. Come on then. Come on. Come on then. Come on now. Come on. Come on then. Come on. Come on then. Come on. Come on then. Come on then. Come on now. Come on. Come on then. Come on. Come on.
They're being fed all they want to eat, both morning and evening, with some feed left over after they're finished, so they're never really hungry, but they still trap well when I call them in because of all the training I gave them when they were very young. Right from a young age I get them used to me calling them in to be fed and using my long squash racket to walk them in when necessary. They're fed by hand using small containers. I give one container to each side of the loft before returning to give a second or a third container depending on how much they need to eat. This training when they're young ensures I have better control over them, particularly when they come home from races later in the year. I'll get a good few weeks of this flying, landing on the loft, bathing and having a good pick around the yard before being called in to be fed every day. It's a very enjoyable time of the year.
Come on then. Come on. Come on then. The pigeons are fed. all they can eat.
They're never really
twice a
hungry
day.
this time of the year. There's always some food left over, morning and night.
Their mixture, drying in the sun. I try to give them as many different grains as I can get, as much variety as possible. I like the grain to dry in the sun.
I mix my own grain mixes and vary them to suit the time of the year. I'll try and do another video on my feeding at a later date. Lights are used in the loft to increase the amount of daylight to help keep the pigeons molting those all-important flight feathers. And as can be seen, these young pigeons are cleaning up nicely and molting those flight feathers.
And here, she's still got 5-6 flights to go, so she's only molted 4. So she would have probably been out of the second round, I would say. I'll probably have to do 2 flights there, cut 2 flights and pull them in a couple of weeks' time. That way she'll have a full wing again by the end of March, I was saying. Nice little hen. There's another hen, dark checker pied. She's still got 5 to go, so she's molted 5. So that's the difference between breeding a bit early, starting in August. Trying to be finished at the birds over in the race loft by the end of November. It's a big advantage in my opinion. And get those pigeons out working, get them through that flights early on before Christmas, and then after Christmas we can concentrate on getting those last 2 flights done. Those last couple of flights done. Yeah, should be a nice hen. There's another hen. See this hen? She's got 3 to go. She's managed to get through 7 flights by the 5th of January. So that's the big advantage. Get those pigeons bred as early as you can. Get them out flying so that they develop their muscles and or strengthen their wings. Don't want them doing too much. You don't want them to strain any tendons or do any damage to anywhere, but just enough so they know where they are. Get a little bit of work into them and get into the loft routine. Then we can concentrate on getting through these flights. The hen there, like I said, 3 flights to go, 5th of January. And she's a yearling as well. There's that yellow ring, QPF 24. So it looks like all of the pigeons, first round and second round, are either got 5 to go, 5 or 6 to go. Some have got 4, a couple have got 3.
And the neighbour's male peacock is molting quite nicely, lost all his lovely tail feathers.
I do make up some supplements, or add some supplements to their grain a couple of times a week. Sometimes use rice bran oil or flaxseed oil. Just a good dollop of that. Give a good mix. Make sure all the grains are coated. A bit of secret recipe, don't tell anyone about this. Bit of molasses. Not a lot. As long as the grains are coated with the oil, the molasses will spread around it quite nicely. If you don't use the oil, then it becomes very gooey and hard to mix. So the oil first, molasses next, and you get a nice little recipe. So that's mixed up quite nicely in there, if you can see that. There's some tummy right. Big potato spoons of tummy right. Get those products online. This is Equilibrium, a mineral mix, and half a soup spoon of that. You can look that up. It's Equilibrium, the blue one, used for horses. It's a mineral mix. And if it's not quite dry enough, I can either add some pink minerals or add some cement. It looks like cement, but I'm only kidding. It's some mega minerals. It's another cattle horse mix one. Mix that up so it's nice and mixed. This is the mineral mix bag. You probably can't read that too well, but there's everything that's in it. And that's the composition. If you can see that, what's in this Equilibrium as well. So you pretty much covered everything they need in the vitamin mineral area. Sometimes I add some vitamin powder to this as well, or some yeast if I don't have any at the moment though. So I give them that twice a week.